everyone. Thank you very much to those who organized this event for the invitation. I am Lydia Garrido. I am an anthropologist responsible for the area of resilience in UNESCO. I have been doing things in terms of study and resilience in Uruguay. It's a pleasure for us to be here from Montevideo, Uruguay. I am Lydia Barbosa Norbis. I have a PhD in education and I'm director of leadership management and education innovation. It is a post degree in the Montevideo University. We're going to talk about resilience, which is part of the global project of UNESCO to strengthen capabilities in order to increase the freedom for social development. It has action, research, learning, and use of this by co creating with collective intelligence. The approach is the Future Leadership approach led by UNESCO. It helps participants to have different election alternatives in the future. And in the present, the idea is to have further decision making processes. This is one of the things that we can immediately see in this learning curve. We're talking about a multidisciplinary approach with complex thinking frameworks, and it's based on anticipatory options. When talking about education, we're working with different stakeholders that are part of the education system: directors, teachers, students, decision makers. So they give from their experience and learning to improve the way problems are understood and solved. But this is done by including the future to the analysis. Here we're talking about critical thinking, creativity, empathy, teamwork, collective work, deep skills for the 21st century. The focus is favoring transformation processes such as what we're doing in UNESCO and other organizations. Why is future so important? Or let's ask this differently. Why should we strengthen capabilities and skills when talking about the future in education institutions? We could say that we are in a context of changes, accelerated changes, changes that require to understand also what we don't know, and we need to overcome short term perspectives. We need to focus on being proactive, reactive. We need to experiment. Education institutions are places where people learn for the future and for the decision making process in the present. This is important, getting related to what's unknown, to what's new. And also, we need to be committed to sustainability. We need to be committed to the future and present generations. And in order to do that, we need to think about the future. The future plays a key role when talking about change dynamics, mainly because it's performance and all qualities. It has to do with what we are creating today. If we create futures, then we'll continue creating futures. With this, we can enable or limit. And we need to have this taken into account with its relevance. We need to understand how anticipatory systems work. When talking about the use of future in education, we're bringing a strategic value so that we can act in different ways. Among them, we create awareness. We can start understanding what to do in order to exercise our freedom. The future is part of every present decision. We need to work to strengthen anticipatory capacities by creating election alternatives, and by doing that, we are increasing freedom. These are the capacity theories of Marta. So, when talking about the future, learning, decision making, change processes, Well, we ended up being interested in the Teach the Future global project, so we joined the program. The challenge is integrating the Futures literacy framework when teaching the future. We need to have that as part of an education change because we want to have different learning levels, learning loops. That is, we don't only want to show techniques for people to understand what's happening in the future, but we want them to reflect on what can we do, how future is used. So the idea is to transform different processes, contents, and even the education system. As part of the tandem teaching learning, which is part of education processes, we emphasize this last one. We need to work with active learning, with practice. We need to be based on intelligence, collective intelligence, and design such as co creation methodologies. This so to reach deep skills and capacities. We need to stimulate reflection, creativity, self acknowledgement, autonomy, empathy, and resilience. So, we want to create skills when using the future. We need to have these anticipatory skills that will allow people to work more comfortably when they're before uncertainty, ignorance, or the unknown. And this obviously improves the learning capacity. The specific approach, as we said, is learning how to teach the future and how to use it. We have three different pillars which are key: creative capacity, which is translated into narratives, different questions, different answers; the reflection capacity, or the reframing; and the third one is collective intelligence with different co creation methodologies. Now, future per se doesn't exist, otherwise, it wouldn't be future anymore. However, it does exist as part of our imagination, as anticipation now. So, when talking about different systems, processes, and anticipatory systems, well, there we can see how to effectively use the future. This approach wants to go to a deeper level to look at what for, which is the innovative level, and it also strengthens the how. This is a multidisciplinary approach with complex frameworks and anticipatory theories. So, we focus on the use of the future's anticipation and imagination in cognitive processes and action processes related to learning, creativity, change, and decision making. From future literacy, we're working with the future and we are fostering different learnings. This by following Dewey diagram. It's not about imagining one pathway, and it's not about understanding the alternatives just as options that overlap. There are different options that are likely. It's not choosing between roads. No, it's not that you need to leave one behind. Here it's the opposite. We want to generate skills for people to understand the context they're at, a context of something new in ongoing creation. So once we know that, then we can start using techniques and tools. We can have experimental exercises. We can look at possibilities. We can go beyond with our imagination and we can be aware of new things that are happening and we can focus on creating new things. So we work to create the conditions for the use of different tools. We change their meaning before we use them. Like this, we want to take this project of UNESCO beyond. The Teach the Future project and the Millennium project are something we're taking into account for different specific activities that we're doing in order to transform the education system. This by strengthening and creating skills in education centers, such as learning systems with anticipatory strengths. Here we're working in a systemic and comprehensive way. The objective of the Teach the Future project by using future literacy is using skills to use the future in the present, so to make better informed decisions and to understand the context of change. We work at all different levels. We work in terms of the management of the education center. We have the design of different proposals that go according to the present and future needs. We also work to affect public policies. For that, we create customized solutions, and we create different units that are understood as ecosystems. So we focus on the relationships and interrelationships by working at a multi level approach. So for an education center, we take into account decision makers, we take teachers, students, and directors into account. We have those who provide services and other stakeholders, including neighbors and families. Then we also take into account the relationship with other dimensions and contextual levels. So we have a national, regional, global levels, and other things such as the technological scope, cultural scope, habits, customs, work, demographics, etc. This to understand the future. We need to accept what's new, emerging, different, innovative. And we are working at different levels with creativity, curiosity, etc. With this, we can have the entire landscape. We can understand what's going on, and we can see how to locate specific education projects. The designs are customized. We take into account the idea of all participants, the interesting subject, and other things such as the available time in the institutions. So everything we're doing can then be done by others. Something key for the education system is that we can have different models. First, we talk about theory, methodologies, the anticipation, discipline, this with different practical exercises for teachers and directors. Then we have a second model that has to do with the co-design of activities of curricula in order to deal with issues and topics related to different learning techniques. And the other model has to do with creating techniques and approaches for the future, and we see how can this be related to the curricula. The last module has a theoretical methodological framework that talks about different techniques and education of the future. The idea is that students understand the future as a space for possibilities to happen. We are working to analyze problems and develop projects. With this, we can strengthen different skills when using the future, this both at a personal and collective level. The idea is to be understanding what's happening in the future. We can prevent, we can plan, and the idea is to do everything beforehand so to better understand and manage uncertainty, resilience, new things, etc. This comprehensive program can use and be used for specific proposals that have to do with leadership or transformation in education practices, and it can also be applied to other objectives, such as the case of what we're doing in our leadership management and education innovation degree in the Montevideo University. It is a university degree, a post degree. It's recognized by the Ministry of Education and Culture. It was recognized by them in 2019 in Uruguay. The idea is to create education centers and to teach teachers that teach at all different levels: elementary school, secondary school, superior education, etc. The idea is to have a state of the art design with professional practices, in situ practices. The idea is to create learning and action. Here, these are the pictures of the education center. Everyone assesses their own change strategies and their peer exchange. The methodology requires people to share their experiences, the things they have lived, their practice. So, this is something that's very important in this degree. We end up creating a community that reflects on the different education practices of every center, both in regular schools, labs, and others. The idea is to learn there, and then teachers, hosts, and directors visit other schools and places. So it's a peer to peer project. We have been trying to do the Teach the Future project and the literacy project. In this specific case, we are including three different models to generate learning, both for students and for the Education Center Strengthening Program. We're also planning on having individual and collective plans. The idea is to take future into account in all present processes. With this, we'll be able to learn and to practice everything. And as a summary, and in order to close this presentation, we just wanted to show you how we can start using this future literacy in all education centers. We're working to create skills, well, generate skills and generate competencies in terms of using the future and in terms of anticipation. And this will obviously end up transforming the entire system. Thank you very much, and we are here at your disposal in case you have questions, and greetings from Uruguay. Thank you very, very much. It was a great pleasure to be with you.